It's the Hoys Podcast.
Welcome back to the Hoys
Welcome back
Podcast.
for a really special episode. Hell yeah, motherfuckers! It's time.
America! It is.
America.
We are so back. It is election season. Trump versus Kamala Harris. Kamala Harris. Whoops, I'm sorry.
That was an early mess up.
Early mess up. We're re-recording. So, we're 4 weeks away from the election. And so, that means that we're probably going to have one more episode. And then, because we're trying to do it every other week, the podcast. Because
No,
every
we
other
should
week.
have
What?
two more. Only one more before the election is wild.
Yeah.
We
So we're
should-
gonna have
we
one
should
more
podcast
before the
on November
election,
4th.
and
We
then
should
the
podcast the
next
day
one. I
before.
don't know if it's gonna be like. It should be a few days. I don't know if it's gonna be before or on election day or after. It might be on election day. Is election day over the weekend?
No, it's on Tuesday, but we should podcast on the Monday. It's a Tuesday every year, girl.
That's voter suppression.
It is voter suppression.
That is absolutely voter. I did not realize that.
I actually asked them today if they think that election day should be a national holiday.
Well, okay, so you haven't even like
I haven't.
you don't even
asked
know,
them
like
that.
the listeners don't even know what you're talking about with they. But before we start with that, I thought it was really interesting because I was watching a few Trump rallies as I normally do, and he has signs up that say "Vote early," which I think is so funny because Republicans are like a big proponent, like, or not a big proponent, but like they advocate against having like early voting dates, if that makes sense. But I
Yeah.
think the dynamics have changed this year where they're actually encouraging Republicans because they're so worried to do like mail-in voting and early voting and things like that as well.
All right. I'm not. Okay, listeners, listen. This is a really, really, really insane podcast. You're not ready. It's probably one of the most insane podcasts we'll ever do.
Yeah.
Probably one of the most insane podcasts you'll ever listen to.
So
No.
let's start off real quick before we get to that. Let's just start with how was your week?
No. We have to
How's
get
your
right
week
into
been
this.
going?
It's
I mean,
been
it's
good.
midterm season.
I actually have so much work to do. I have like 10 pages of paper to do literally tonight. But anyways,
Oh, that's nice.
yeah, no, it's been nice. I'm in Michigan Ballroom, which is like a dance team, and I finally got a partner, which is really cool. But that kind of like took over my week, I'm not gonna lie. And then there's this that has taken over my entire day, and it's been all I'm thinking about and all I did. And the thing,
You got
that's a
up
good-
really early for this.
well, early for Saturday. It was only 8 a.m., but
So,
really early.
if you remember from last episode, we were talking about our conservative relative, and how Luther is like kind of doing a study on that relative for
For a class.
for
So-
a class on political polarization.
And I was invited to a Trump motor rally, which is when people get in vehicles and they fly crazy Trump flags and have
Talking to the
Trump
mic.
flags, and they just they drive from one town to another. I'm like really jittering with my hair right now. I'm gonna stop. And it's just it's just that it's just they just drive from one town to another. And I was invited to this, and basically the idea is that I need to have a conversation with people I politically disagree with. And we decided to do it in the car during the rally with these two people, my relative and his very close friend, and that's that. Okay, for the purpose of discussion, I'm gonna call my relative Bob, and I'll no, I'm gonna call our relative Bob.
Okay.
This is wait,
Is Bob's friend.
no, we can't use
What?
because wait, you might want to cut this out, but is a friend I went with. That's the name of the friend I went with.
Oh, okay.
I'm gonna call. Okay, for the sake of discussion, I went with my friend from my class as well, and for the sake of discussion, we're gonna call him George, and then we're gonna call my relative Bob, and then we're gonna call my relative's friend Matthew. Can you remember all of those names?
Can you go again?
Matthew is my relative's friend.
Okay.
Bob is my relative.
Okay.
And wait, what is my friend's name?
I think you could say your friend's name.
No, I don't. I need his consent.
Okay.
But fuck.
Just say your
Okay.
friend.
My friend.
Okay.
Sure, my friend. Friend Bob and Matthew.
Yeah.
Matthew. Okay.
Look at us.
And we're such bad podcasters.
We're so good
my
at
God.
this.
I have so much to get to. You have no idea, Wesley. Like I purposely did not tell Wesley any of this beforehand.
Yeah.
Wesley, you're gonna be fucking shocked by this shit. Basically, I thought that these people were a little bit more moderate than I thought. I mean, we're definitely going to a Trump rally and all of that, and they're definitely far right enough to vote for Trump. But I thought that they were reasonable people that I could talk to and have a meaningful discussion with, and to an extent they are. But they're also extremely smart. They're super smart, and they're very convincing. And if I wasn't as
Talking to the mic.
if I wasn't as I guess educated, I genuinely I understand why people could fall to a very alt-right pipeline after talking to them today. They are super fucking far right.
Mhm.
Ungodly far right. Like adjacent to neo-Nazis. It's kind of insane what the shit that they said to us today. And I'm going to try to go in a chronological order, and I'm going to try to not label them, and I'm just going to basically say what they told me, like, very straight up. Try to be as not objective, but just exactly just state what they said, because I don't want to misquote them in case they're listening, because they are my relatives. And I probably will be meeting up with them in the future. But it was fucking crazy. The actual rally itself, I thought I would have a lot more to talk about, but really it was just us driving. We did almost my uncle Bob. He did not look at the road enough, and so we almost got hit twice.
Was it
only
a
thing
lot
about
like
the rally.
in Chicago?
Oh yeah. I genuinely was fearing for my life. Well, not really, but yeah, those are the only two times where I felt unsafe. But let's just start off with a bang. They're have really interesting views on black
Talking to
people.
the mic.
They have very interesting views on black people. They I said I wasn't gonna label, but I want to label really bad. They said that black people have a genetic they have a genetic disadvantage to white people. Like they are genetically worse than white people, and that's why they do so much violent crimes. And they said, and then another thing that like is in eugenics territory that they said later on is that they said they are less COVID deniers that you think. They're less delirious about COVID than you would think, which is not a good thing, because listen what they said about COVID, Wesley. They said that they still think it's like a flu, but they said that it was killing people, but it was fine that it was killing people because it was killing the weak people, like the fat people or the old people or the disabled people or the black people. They said this was fine, and they said that if men were in charge, they said that females were in charge of COVID, and that females don't care, but if men were in charge, they would man up and fight, and they would just like they would be fine, like they would like tough it out, and only the toughest men would survive, and that's good. It's good for the human race that only the toughest men would survive. And oh my god, they're so incredibly misogynistic. Like, oh my god, like I genuinely. Like, they love the patriarchy. They said it over and over again. They were like, we believe in the patriarchy. We don't believe that a woman can be president. Like, they cannot hold office of any kind. Like, men should be in charge, and we need to bring back masculinity. And that's a thing that was said over and over again, because my Matthew is actually an openly gay man, but he left the gay community. He left the gay community. That's what he says. He left the gay community because they were
What does
too
that
feminine.
mean?
They're too feminine for him. He only likes masculine masculine gaze, and he likes himself because he's masculine, and he believes in only masculine people, and he thinks that gay people have gotten too feminine nowadays. And like they started talking about transgender people in sports and transgender people in general, and how their testosterone is dead and masculine is dead, and like all these like crazy talking points, like genuinely insane. Oh my god, I like my train of thought is go all over the place. They near the end of the ride, they said that they think that Rosa Parks and Harriet Tubman and Malcolm X are not true real patriots and not real Americans.
Why?
I don't know. They said that the Civil War wasn't about slavery, and
Talking to the mic.
they said that like I don't they just don't, they don't believe in reparations of any kind. That's not that's no surprise, but they like justified this through this like insanely racist rhetoric, and said that like basically like it's basically they feel very neglected of being in the white working class.
Mm-hmm.
So many white working class people do, and so many of them vote red, and it's
Yeah.
because these politicians are able to make them shift the blame to other people, shift the blame to the immigrants, shift the blame to the black people. Uh, these people are so hateful. They hate all these people. They are very individualistic. They said it themselves. They genuinely are very close-minded and think for themselves and don't think for other people. They they believe in the dogs and the cats thing, and the Haitian Springfield dogs and cats. They totally believe that. But they said
Okay.
that even if that's not true, they don't care. They don't care if Trump lies. He is they don't care how many times Trump lies. He is still idea of truth. He is still spewing this truth that America needs. That like his entire embodiment at the end of the day is the truth and the real truth, and it doesn't matter how many times he lies or how many conspiracy theories he throws around. It doesn't matter. And yeah, they don't think the election is real. They said that if Trump wins, then they'll think this election is not rigged. But they said that if Kamala wins, then they'll think that the election is rigged. But they believe that Kamala's going to win because they believe that you know
Everything is rigged.
Everything's rigged. So they think it'll be a miracle if Trump wins. And Matthew admitted to me, he was like, I wish I was in January 6th. He really wishes that he was in January 6th. In fact, he was planning on going, and then I think he got sick or something.
And why did he say that?
He said that because he said that he thinks that what they were doing was right and it was a good form of protest. And he said, and I was like, why do you think that they were entering the Capitol? And he said, to view the beautiful architecture in the Capitol. He said that he just wants to go and see the architecture.
I think January 6th was like kind of funny. I know you might disagree.
Well, let me just tell you these crazy things about January 6th that they were saying.
Okay.
Like it was fucking insane what they were saying about January 6th. Like genuinely, he thinks that they were going in to see the architecture, and he wants to go in and see the architecture as well.
Did he think that Antifa was involved?
Yeah, but
okay.
He wishes that he was in January 6th.
I feel like
but he also thinks that it's Antifa that is at fault.
Luther, I know that you're saying that all of this is like genuinely surprising, but like I'm not surprised at all at any of these things. And maybe it's because I've
I think the racism is way
seen so much like right-wing propaganda at this point that I'm like desensitized to it, or like just I already know all the talking points. But it is a little bit insane hearing it from your relative.
It sounds like eugenics though. Like some of these
things. Oh,
things.
It absolutely is eugenics, especially the black people thing.
Yeah.
I haven't heard that talking point from like a lot of right-wing actors dropped that talking point a while ago, and they go more down like the globalism route, which is just talking about Jews.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's still that belief in a lot of circles.
They said that January 6th, that everyone should be freed from January 6th, all the prisoners. all 1,500 of them. They kept on saying 1,500. I looked it up. It's only 400, and most of them are freed by now.
Mm.
But
Yeah,
1,500
I mean, I think
prisons.
some of the sentences are too long, but
Well, okay.
that's
Here's
just me.
here's what
There was like
I
one.
told them. I told them that Judge Mehta came to our school.
You can't. I mean, okay, yeah.
The judge that did a lot of the January 6th rulings came to me and Wesley's high school
Hmm.
and talked about it.
Yeah.
And I told them about the one question that our friend, me and Wesley's friend asked that I thought was really interesting, which was like, why was there such diversity in the sentence lengths of all these people? And Judge Mehta gave a really good response. He was like, okay, well, basically, like, I felt a lot of sympathy for a lot of these folks. A lot of them kind of just went in because it was the crowd that was going in. They had no criminal record. They were really young, and he felt bad, and he felt like sending them to prison wouldn't be the best solution for these people. And I agree. And so he only gave them like a couple months at house arrest sometimes. But then
Well,
people who were college educated, who were mid 40s, mid 50s, who knew that what they were doing, who knew that they could do better, who literally went in there and they defamed and they like destroyed some of the things in there, and they like went into Nancy Pelosi's office. It's kind of unexcusable. He had
yeah,
to
but
send
I
them to
also
prison.
think like I don't I think it's 17 years was the longest sentence that he handed down.
Mhm.
I think I don't think the prison system in the US, and this is a wider issue that it's not just Judge Mehta,
Mhm.
but I don't think prison is very rehabilitative. So sentencing somebody to 17 years or however long isn't going to teach them a lesson. And I mean, a lot of these people released, they're back to doing the same stuff because they were not like within our prison system. That was not a way of telling them that they shouldn't do it. It was just a way of like being like, oh, the system is against me. And so a lot of those people now are just going to spiral deeper and
Mhm.
might do more violent stuff in the future
Yeah.
because of how they were treated on January 6th. So I'm, people might disagree with me, but I think I'm in favor of releasing all J6 prisoners under the context of re-education, if that makes sense.
All of
Obviously,
them though.
that's not gonna, yes, because like, well, I mean, actually, some of those people there, they're like they were like some tech executives and like millionaires and like rich people there, and those people should know better
Yeah.
because they were just going in for sport
Well, people died.
because they're not, yeah, people died.
Like, and they don't believe that too. They genuinely don't believe that anyone died
But
or
one
that
of
police
their
officers
people
were
died.
assaulted. Oh, they did bring up that. They were like, "No one is talking about this one person,"
Oh, okay.
which is like not true. I've definitely heard about that, and so was like a lot of people, but it's whatever.
Yeah.
Um, but they weren't talking about the police officers that were assaulted. I mean, it is pretty generic talking points. I just like
Well, that
can't
was
believe.
Antifa, Luther.
Oh.
Yeah. Antifa hurt them because they hate
I
cops.
like can't like oh my god, I just can't believe some of the things that they said. I just think the Rosa Parks thing is so weird. Like, why would you shit on Rosa Parks?
Well, in what context was that brought up?
They were just like, they're not true Americans. I don't even know. Like, they just like brought it up. They just wanted to bring it up. They just wanted to talk about Rosa Parks and how she was terrible.
Oh.
Like, genuinely, that's insane. Oh, they talked about the Confederate flag. Completely fine to hold on to the Southern roots, whatever. Completely fine to say the N word. One of them said the N word. Um, like just some silly shit.
Yeah.
There was something that I was gonna say.
I
Oh,
mean, this is why,
they said
like, I mean, the thing is, all of these people are white working class people who
yeah.
would benefit from Democrat policies. You get what I mean? Like, they don't benefit from a lot of the policies that the Republicans have. Throwing people out of the United States isn't going to help them. Um, Tax cuts certainly aren't going to help them, especially if the rich get tax cuts because that's just going to um, hurt the middle class more. Um, so I think it's an issue of messaging. I don't think these people feel heard on the left in a lot of circles. They don't feel recognized.
Yeah. Well, we did try to bring that up. We tried to bring up, hey, wouldn't this policy benefit you?
Hmm.
And they were like, I don't. They kind of had to go to great lengths to defend some of these, like healthcare, like how are they against healthcare, and basically, Matthew was like, "Oh, I work with the homeless all the time," which he does. He does work with the homeless all the time. By the way, he said homelessness was unsolvable. Um,
Why?
and
Because they're just drug users, and so
yeah,
they want to be homeless.
yeah. Well, no, they don't want to be homeless. He just said it was unsolvable, and I was like, "Why do you say that?" And he's just like, "Yeah, it is. It just is." And I was like, "It's definitely better in a lot of countries. Like better other countries have figured it out." He was like, "No, that's not true. There's no way that's true."
Did you talk about the opioid crisis
We
and
talked
how that
about
affects
fentanyl.
homelessness?
Yeah, we talked about fentanyl
Did he say
and
that
opioids.
people were bringing fentanyl in from the border?
Yeah,
Okay.
I mean they are,
No. Well, it's not really true.
mm.
And I mean, they are bringing it through the border,
But
but
it's
the
not the
way that
way
it's
to think
being
it is.
trafficked in is through legal ports of entry
Yeah,
by US citizens.
yeah,
That's 90% of fentanyl that's trafficked through the border.
yeah,
And then migrants seeking asylum, only 0.03, I think it's actually 0.003% of migrants coming across the border possess any fentanyl.
yeah,
So there's this whole myth that immigrants are coming over and they're bringing with them crime and fentanyl, but
mm.
it's not them who is doing all of
Yeah. I
this.
know, I
It's
know, I know.
U.S. citizens. I know, I know that you know that, but I wanted
You're
to,
saying it for the
because
pod.
this is actually something that I wanted to write about because this was a this was something that was this was some misinformation that was being stated by both Walz and Vance during the VP debate, and Harris and Trump as well, is that we need to bring down immigration because that's what's causing fentanyl to be trafficked over. When it's
Mm.
just not true. That's not how it's happening.
Yeah, yeah. I'm trying to think what else they said. Oh my god, it was like I think the unsettling part and the part that like really gets to me is that not exactly the material that they're saying because it kind of does sound like far right talking points. You're not really surprised by this. What surprised me was how convincing they were. They really eased into it in a way where it sounded like they were the smartest people in the world and like they knew everything and that we didn't know anything. And it was really convincing. And that's really scary. Like it was so I can't describe how it was sitting in that car. It was genuinely like it made me really sad. Um, I don't know how you feel about that, but like
Yeah.
it made me realize how this happens to people and how
How
people
do you
start
think
thinking
that
that way.
they fell down the pipeline?
Well, I think that Matthew, the reason why he thinks these things about like black people is that he's been beaten up 5 times in his life, and they've all been black people. That's what he said. And so, but even so, everyone knows that black people commit more crime than white people. It's it's a fact, but it's not because of like a genetic thing or whatever. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? It's because of like a systematic oppression that these people are
Mm.
completely denying that it happened.
Less economic opportunity.
Yeah. And like they I guess some fair points is that they feel like there's a lot of this is a fair point, but then they go the opposite way. They say that there's a lot of programs in America that are here that are to help like working class people, but they aren't white people. they're usually reparations towards black people, and the white working class feels very left out, and they're very angry, and so that's why they support Trump. But really, they should be supporting like pretty leftist policy, and they don't realize that these programs help people. I mean, Christ, Bob is on Obamacare. He's on Obamacare. He's saving a ton of money every year because of Obamacare.
Yeah. Well,
It makes me it's just unsettling. But at the same it sounds right now it sounds like they're crazy conspiracy theorists that are super contradictory and super hypocritical, and why would anyone think that way? And then if you sit down and you have the conversation with these people, they sound so reasonable. They sound like an average American, and but they're spewing all these shit at you. But it's just scary. It's scary. It's really scary.
yeah. Well, it's really easy to point out one thing or people who are different from you as the reason why something is happening. And it's especially hard when the people who are supposed to be stopping this racism from happening are demonizing you and just calling you a Nazi. And yeah, they have Nazi rhetoric. But what needs to happen is that people on the left need to cater to these people too. Because they will benefit greatly from policy on the left, but they need to know that, right?
I think today, honestly, I wasn't really talking to them that much, I'm not gonna lie. My friend was initiating most of the conversation. God, I'm so happy he was there, because it would have been scary to be there by myself. Like, kind of, like, genuinely, like, I would have felt, like, trapped, and, like, I felt like I wouldn't have been able to, like, get a word in or whatever. He was really good at being assertive, but also asking the right questions and getting them to get to this point where they were spewing this hateful rhetoric to us. Like, he made it so that they felt comfortable to actually say their true beliefs, right? And I don't know if I would have been able to do that, but I honestly kind of just wanted to listen to them, because I wanted to listen to what they were saying so that I could learn in the future how I can really address these folks.
Yeah.
It's so scary out there. And to think, no, I don't think half the country is this far right. Definitely not. But to think half the country is voting for Trump, and then to think of the amount of those Trump supporters who might be thinking this way, it's probably a lot more than we think.
I think it's
Because
growing,
even
to be honest
though,
with you. I think I think you're right on the fact that I think not all of these all Trump supporters are, or not all Trump voters are this far right, but
mm,
every day that the Democrats don't message against this and move more to the right on things like immigration, you are validating these
yeah,
claims that are coming out of the far right,
yeah,
and it's just going to get worse. And that's what I like. Some people say that Harris has to support these policies with the border because it's the only way that they're going to win. But the issue is that it's creating a downward spiral, right? This rhetoric is only going to get more and more inflammatory as years go on. And everything's going to continue to get more and more unaffordable.
I mean, if
And
Democrats keep going,
I think young people are going to be victim to this rhetoric next. I think that young people are going to start believing this because, oh shit. Sorry. I was messing around with something, because they're going to start looking for reasons why they can't afford anything. And they're going to start blaming these issues on Jewish people, immigrants, black people.
I will say they did not say anything about Jewish people.
Yeah.
Nor do I think they're neo-Nazis.
Well,
But they're pretty
people
fucking
on the
bad.
far right, they don't usually say Jews. Some people do. Sometimes they'll say they are controlling the markets, something like that.
Right.
The globalists are controlling things, right? That's what Alex Jones says.
I just thought of another crazy thing they said. We asked about abortion, which I mean, we kind of predicted what they were gonna say. Like they said that while Walz was governor in Minnesota, there was 10 abortions that happened after birth. And they like definitely believe that there's like this huge problem across
Yeah,
America.
I mean, Trump says that all the time.
Yeah, well, there's abortions happening after birth. And so they don't believe in abortion, obviously. They would probably support a national abortion ban, but they said they only believe in two exceptions. They believe in incest as an exception, and they believe in the life of the mother as the exception, but they don't believe in rape as the exception because they said rape is not, it doesn't exist. Like basically, they said that rape is like heavily made up by the left. Like as a
Oh, because
concept.
men are superior to women, and
Right.
so they make the decisions
But
for the woman.
but of course the immigrants are coming in and they're raping everyone by the dozen, so
Yeah. Well, they're not
so
human,
that
so
yeah. Like genuinely like crazy, like stuff like that. I should have brought up the immigrants thing, honestly, when they said that.
you should have brought up what?
The immigrants thing. Oh, they said that they said Barron Trump is sexy. Um
In what context?
we were talking about their family because I wanted to ask about Melania Trump because of her recent things on abortion. And
Oh
they
yeah, we
just
should talk about. We should cover that real quick.
they basically said that they think Melania Trump is crazy. They think that she doesn't want to. She honestly, this might be the most agreeable thing. They think that Melania Trump is not in love with Donald Trump, and she's just doing it like for funsies. And
Mm.
they like they like see her as like this kind of like girl boss figure that's just like this hot girl who's just like living her life. And is completely different than Donald Trump, but is like not very public. She's not a very public figure on purpose, and they think that Barron Trump's a lot like her, like is following in her footsteps more than Trump. They kept talking about Barron. They were like, he's so sexy, he's so cool, he's such a dapper young lad.
It's so interesting because Trump doesn't even talk about Barron all that much.
Yeah, but they were talking about Barron, and uh, like, God, like they're just disgusting. I'm sorry,
Hey,
they're gross. Like
okay, you have to be like the Luther. You're the one in the political polarization class, right?
I can't say they're disgusting.
It's you can say that the things they are supporting are disgusting, but you have to lay it out.
We passed by a girl in like who was wearing leggings, and they were like, and she's like our age, and they were like, look, she's wearing really tight leggings, like you can see all her curves, and she was like a young college student, and they're like 65. It was really weird.
Mm.
I don't
Yeah,
know.
that is
I
disgusting.
agree though.
I take back what I said. That's not even
I
political. That's
agree
just disgusting.
it's just kind of gross.
Yeah.
Um, but honestly, are these things political? Should they be political? No. Like anything that I've really mentioned, a lot of these things are just like kind of like this basic sense that they have like lost because of these like echo chambers. Honestly, being in that car felt like a giant echo chamber.
Did you ask
Some
him kind of what they consume online or anything?
I was just gonna say that Matthew apparently he listens to the New York Times podcast every morning.
Okay. Huh.
Really random. That's what he says. I don't know if to believe that. He says he also sometimes listens to NPR, although they've gotten too far left for him. But isn't that strange? He likes the New
Hmm.
York Times a lot. He says the New York Times is really good.
Okay. That is really weird.
It is really strange. But hey, there you go. Yeah,
So
I
he
don't know. I really
he
don't.
listens to the New York Times. Is there anything
I,
else?
I think my next question for them, honestly, is they both, uh, they're both very open about the fact that they used to be communists, and now they're not. And they're not just saying communist as a synonym for left. These people genuinely used to be communists, which is so interesting. And now they're super far right. And so I kind of just want to ask them, how do you think this happened? Like, I think that they would answer to that the next time I see them. And I don't want to burn a bridge with them at all. I want to be able to continue to see them because it's like this is like a very interesting sociology class to be able to meet up with these people. I don't think I'm ever gonna like talk to these types of people ever in my life after this. I genuinely don't believe I will
Why?
because because it's just not like who I surround myself with. The only reason why I'm talking with these people is because they're my relatives. I would never have an excuse to talk with these people either. Like outside of this, America is so divided as a
Hmm.
nation and as a where people live and like the types of people like the people just continue to surround themselves with more like-minded people where it's to the point where I can just live about my life and live and until I'm 85 years old and just never have to speak to any of these people. Even if they're growing in size in America, I probably never will talk to someone as far right as them. And the only reason why I know these people is because they're my relatives.
Yeah.
But maybe it could be fun to try to continue to seek them out and figure out their perspective. But I'm just saying, even if
Yeah.
I wasn't this motivated to go out and find these people, like I wouldn't have an excuse to listen to them or not listen to them to interact with them.
Yeah. Well, I think it's really important to have these discussions because I think on both sides people are demonized and to just like, oh, they're racists because they're racists. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I think there's a lot more factors to why people like our relative become far right and exist in these far right circles. And I don't think those root causes are addressed at all. It's just like, oh, they're racist because they grew up racist, which is not true. In our case, it's not. Our relative and our mother, they grew up in a very progressive household. Um, and so it's people have to understand that it can happen to anyone. It doesn't just happen to
I
that
think you were saying
random
you said the
farmer on
same
the
thing.
street. Like it happens to working class people who were raised in normal households and were educated in
Not
universities.
normal, far like super far left households.
Yeah, it can happen to anyone. And to combat this from happening, you have to understand that at first. And you have to
He said
understand the factors in how this happens.
he's like a construct he like is an architect, Matthew, and he said that he was waiting for this guy to show up, like a construction worker on the job, and the man walked into the room, and he said that that he was disappointed that the man was black. He was hoping for a white man.
It was someone he like a
That he was working with, a
oh
coworker. Like he said just seriously just said that to us straight up.
yeah.
But then also went on to say that Obama and Kamala are fake black, and that
They're not
they're
black.
actually white people.
Yeah.
So,
Well, I don't know. I mean, I don't even know why that talking point exists. Like, what's the point of that? Because wouldn't you want them to be black? Because it fits into your narrative that black people are doing things. I don't know.
I think they see them as a lot like political insiders, which they are, but then you can't then go support Trump, right?
Yeah, I mean, the way that Trump is so good at portraying himself to these groups of people because he's been able to message himself as a political outsider. And he was going in a lot of ways. He wasn't a politician, and that appealed to a lot of people. But
Mhm.
he's definitely still establishment, right?
Yeah.
He's very much establishment. And now he has the
I
backing of
they
lots of very rich people who are spending lots of money to help him get elected. Granted, the same thing is happening on the left, so it's
basically
not
they were
just
saying that
Trump.
Obama and Kamala and Biden, all these Democrats are insiders. And so I wanted to ask, okay, don't you think that Trump doesn't actually speak for you guys? He comes from a really wealthy family, stuff like that. I was very explicit in what I was trying to ask. And they honestly gave me a pretty honest response. They were like, no, he's not, but he speaks to us. He
Yeah,
speaks to all these people.
and that's exactly
His
right.
his policy speaks to them. His fear, the
I
fear
don't know
he's
if his
created.
his
Well,
policies don't,
that's
but yeah,
they think
he thinks
they
they
think
think
that
that it does.
yeah.
Yeah.
The fear, um, it speaks to them. I think
Anyways,
we're
I
gonna
know that you have
it.
to
I have to
go
leave
in a
pretty
few
soon.
minutes.
My final point, because I know you have something you want to talk about that's completely different.
Yeah.
My final point about all this is that Wesley mentioned this earlier. My worry is how far right Republicans are nowadays. And I'm not saying this is all Republicans. I'm not saying this is all conservatives. I'm not saying this is all Trump supporters. But it is quite a big group of them, or like people that I'm describing today, that I saw today. And I'm scared that the right will continue to have these echo chambers, to have these people, and they will become further and further right. And what
Well,
happens if the
I'm worried
Democrats?
more that it's growing.
What happens then? If the Democrats decide to continue to do what they're doing and portray themselves as further and further right, so that they can appease to these people for some ungodly reason, is like, I don't know, like what's the next thing that they're gonna like fall back on?
The way to bring these people over for the Democrats is to actually advocate for good policy that will help these people. Medicare for all, um, breaking up massive companies, increasing taxes for the rich, right? And then doing the correct messaging, and then them seeing those results and seeing that it will help them.
Mm-hmm.
You
Yeah.
don't bring them over to your side by shifting your policy to be more to the right. Because A, the policy's not going to help them. And B, why would they go with you? Because there's somebody who's already doing the more far right policy.
Yeah.
So if you're shifting to be like kind of like right next to it, you're not really doing much. You're not
Yeah.
recruiting people. The only way to recruit people is to deliver results.
Yeah.
And so even if Bob is under Obamacare, there's so many other ways in which policy has failed him. Right? And he probably struggles a lot with money sometimes. Because
I
he
mean,
does.
he's poor.
Yeah.
He's
And
very, very poor.
he does an honorable job when it comes to things like homeless people, like helping homeless people.
Well, that's not him.
And
That's
oh,
Matthew.
sorry. Um well, they both have very like I would say honorable jobs, right?
Yeah.
They're both
Well,
doing small
he has
business
like a
stuff or
weird consulting.
volunteering or things like that, right?
He has a weird consulting firm. Bob has like a consulting firm for like big businesses, but
Well, it's more
it's
for
still
small
just
businesses.
yeah. He pointed
Really?
out the businesses he works with.
Like what?
It's like he like works at like a Ford dealership.
Oh,
I don't know. I'm really confused on both of their professions. But whatever they're doing, neither of them are making much money at all.
yeah.
Though they paid for my lunch, which was very
So
nice.
they're not making a lot of money, but they are both hardworking people, right?
Mm.
And so they want to be able to do these jobs and like still be well off, right?
Yeah.
And the policies on the right are not going to help them, but some of the messaging will, because every single thing, every single time something bad happens in their life, you can just say, well, it's this group of people, and that's easy.
Mm.
Anyways, we have
You
to
have 2
end in a
minutes.
few minutes, but um gosh, is there anything that I should talk about?
You said you were
Oh,
gonna
I
talk
went to
about
my first
Purdue.
football game today.
Yes.
It was Big Ten. It was versus Purdue.
Mm.
And
Wait, shit. Did Michigan win? Sorry.
how were you? Was it in Michigan?
No, it was in Washington.
Oh, okay. Um, and we won 50. What was the score at? Let me look it up.
It's not until 7:30.
I left slightly early because my roommate was having heat problems. Um, we lost. Oh, we won 52-6, which
Holy shit.
I know
You guys
it was
fucking
crazy.
that's insane.
We killed it. I know. So I think it was a good morale booster for us because we haven't been on a good streak so far. But Purdue's not a really great team, so I mean, there's not too much to gloat there. It was just like, I don't know, it was a good win.
Yeah.
Lots of good plays. And I'm exclusively doing opinion articles for the school newspaper now, because I did one opinion article, and then they were like, well, you can't do news now. And I was like, okay, well, I wish I had known that policy where you can only do opinions
Yeah.
if you're doing opinions, but they didn't tell me that until after I wrote an opinion piece. And I was like, well, I want this opinion piece to get published, so. But it's fine. I mean,
Wesley,
there should
put
be a
in
lot
the-
of things.
Put in the description. It's a really good
I'm not
article,
gonna
guys.
remember.
Oh, it's a really good article.
It's
Just look up
just go to
Wesley Hoy on
dailycardinal.com and then look up my name.
dailycardinal.com. It's a really good article on Chaparral.
But yeah, I'm hoping to do like weekly pieces for them. I'm not gonna be able to do it this weekend because I'm so busy with midterms and stuff. But I think I'm gonna do something on immigration next.
Mm.
And talk about the right wing framing from both political parties and how it's gonna hurt. It's gonna hurt everyone.
Yeah.
By doing that, we're just spending money on nothing, right?
Yeah.
Increasing border patrol agents is not gonna help the middle class. It's not gonna help the working class.
No.
So I'm gonna be writing that next. But yeah, I mean, it's election season. We're so back. American politics. Gosh, we didn't even talk about Lebanon.
We didn't, but I was wondering. I think we should have 2 more podcasts before the election.
Yeah.
But I was wondering if, for a breath of fresh air, we should have one that's non-political and one that's political. Or maybe we just do 2 political podcasts, and then after the election, we can all take a breather.
Well, what if we just? I think maybe next week we should split our time between some fun stuff, and then for half of it, maybe we could do like a 2-hour episode. I mean, there's so much to talk about right now.
Yeah.
So we could do like a 2-hour episode in 2 weeks, and we could do like something fun to begin, and then we'll talk politics later.
Think November 4th, Wesley, we should definitely do a podcast.
November 4th?
The day before the
Well,
election.
I think we should do The thing is, I think we should also do like a post-election reaction thing as well.
Yeah.
So we might do 2 episodes that
Yeah, that's fine.
week,
But I want to do one the day before
and we'll
the
just do
election 'cause I
something
think it'd be
short
really
or
cool.
something. Huh?
I think it'd be cool. I think it'd be cool to do one like right before the election.
Yeah. I mean, that makes sense. I'm planning on
Oh.
doing like an election map thing, and I'm gonna organize like a election night party.
Right now, Wesley, who's gonna win?
Who's gonna win the election?
Yeah, right now.
I don't know.
Come on. You have to choose one.
I mean, according to polling, it will probably be, Kamala Harris has a better chance, but it's a toss up, and I think that with the invasion of Lebanon, Michigan is in big danger. It's in massive danger, of flipping right because Arab Americans. I mean, there's polling out there that's showing that only like 20% of Arab Americans are voting Kamala Harris this time around. That number's gonna drop. It's gonna keep dropping, and
Yeah.
it's not about those people wanting Trump to win. It's just like out of disgust. You can't show up if you're that disgusted with what is happening in places like Lebanon in the Middle East.
Yeah.
And Wisconsin's also at risk. Wisconsin, I'm really worried about Wisconsin. Going right. I think there's a chance.
It's
we'll
gonna be
see.
really close. It's gonna be really close.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Bye, Wes.
Bye. Oh, we have to do our
Oh.
outro.
Wait, what's the outro? You're the outro.
Yeah, I'm the outro. Bow, 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 bow. It's the end of the Hoys Podcast. Bow, bow,
Wait,
bow,
Is
bow.
that right? I thought it was. It's not the whole. It.
Oh,
like,
it's
it's-
no longer.
Yeah, it's no longer.
Oh,
Okay.
okay. I'll do it again. Bow, 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 bow. It's no longer the Hoys Podcast. Bow, 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 bow.